This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
We're good, right?
It's red.
Yes. All right. Good afternoon. It is December 12th, 2024, 12:32. This is the Southampton Senior Center Building Committee. We'll call the meeting to order. Okay, open time for the public. No one's here, no one. Okay. Approval of minutes, in case anybody, thanks Livy again, everybody for the detail that you put in here. So, I don't know
I don't know
what.
how you do it.
Very comprehensive. I had to look back on the video
Oh,
quite a few
It helps.
times.
It helps. And do we have a motion to approve?
I move
Once
to
you-
approve the minutes.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Dennis beat you by half a second.
I did.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Next steps, I'm gonna close this guy. Next steps as far as additional members. No, Scott's not here, I'm assuming he would have let us know if somebody had approached him. No one's taken action, Kate, after you mentioned that? Okay. So we still have an opening, so we can still continue to try to recruit. I've reached out to a couple people, but haven't been successful, so we'll keep plugging along on that. So, okay, update on land use planner and contract. Chris, I mean, I know we have signed a contract, right?
Yeah,
So,
contract is signed, I believe, Stephen Randall and Scott are meeting just preliminarily with PVPC person to sort of just look at the overview of the schedule of what's gonna be happening before we actually have the kickoff meeting.
okay, because I know at the last meeting we thought early December, so at the last meeting we thought it might be early December, so it's probably going to be,
It took a while to get the contract signed.
yeah, so.
I don't know if they'll fit in a kickoff meeting before the holidays. I guess I haven't heard that yet. So I don't know for sure. But I think they want to. So if they can get it kicked off between, we've got 2 weeks essentially. I'm kind of thinking they will try to have a meeting
Okay,
to get things started in December.
okay, so we'll stay
Who's,
tuned.
what's involved in a kickoff meeting? Is all
Well, just getting the-
constituents
getting it
sitting down
Getting the
together?
people together, the core people together with
Okay.
PVPC and the other consultant, Dodson and Flicker, and just walking through what we need to do and how it's gonna proceed.
Okay.
And, yeah,
Get an education.
all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so that kind of answers what's next. So, any updates on this? I always think Scott's going to fill us in on some of this stuff, so sorry, Chris. Next step on the special town meeting, or request for funding on the OPM, or is that?
He's not making it today, okay.
Okay,
All I can say, I guess we're still kind of aiming toward a February timeframe. I'm
okay.
gonna say probably late February, for a special town meeting offhand. What was your other question?
No, and then the request for the funding for the OPM, it was
Oh.
kind of all one question,
Right,
so.
yeah, that'll kind of tie in, so that would still be part of the warrant article probably for a special town meeting would be the costing of the OPM.
Okay,
And last meeting, I think we talked about sharing an OPM
Yes.
between the two
right,
committees.
Right.
correct. According to the minutes we received.
Well, originally we were talking about only doing
Separately,
one.
and
then
Yeah.
Morphed, we
Yes.
morphed.
Yeah, we did.
I lied.
We were back to sharing the OPM by the end of the meeting.
We evolved.
Yes.
We did.
Discussion, that's why we have good
That's right.
discussion.
Well, I'm just curious, how does paying the OPM work? Do you have a certain amount that you have to pay them up front, or percentage, or Are
It
there-
depends on the contract that we sign, most likely.
progress?
Yeah, but it would be progress reports, I'm sure. It's tranches that we would pay throughout the process, so
Yeah.
not an upfront, not a total upfront payment.
Yeah.
There might be a deposit or something we have to pay, but I kind of, as a
No,
retainer, but I doubt
There
it.
should not be.
I doubt it. I mean, yeah, because I think you pay as you set certain milestones.
Yeah,
and-
they have to decide whether it's gonna be a lump sum or, you know, it's not called time and materials, but essentially when they work, we pay them
Yeah,
with a budgetary limit.
right. So that I assume would be, delineated in the actual contract that we would undergo with them. Probably.
And then, so that would be an RFP too, so that's something Bradley, and if Libby can help, I know.
I got some examples.
Okay,
Yeah, the scopes of work. I mean, a large part of the contract and not the contract, the RFP is standard, standard language for Massachusetts requirements, but that scope of work is really particular to the task, and so that's where we would need
right.
special help.
And
Okay.
Another
and then
question.
there's,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
when I was looking at the overall cost for the projects, there are costs for design, and the OPM would be overseeing the design, and then there's costs for construction phase services. So I'm assuming the OPM would be involved in that, but I don't know that we know enough right now to sign that contract. So it's gonna be an OPM
Yeah.
design and then
And
construction,
then,
so.
maybe amend it or something later on
Yeah,
to take
yeah.
that when we get to there, but I
Probably,
wouldn't
right.
want to put that in now. We have no idea on that part.
And we would determine how much that we would put in RFP as far as a dollar amount upfront?
And I don't know how much that should be.
Because I know when we did our RFP for to hire the feasibility study, we put a dollar amount, not to exceed dollar amount in that. Is that how, I just don't know, is that how the OPM would be?
I don't know. We could ask.
Do we
It could be-
dictate the
it could be
dollar amount, or do they
fee-based,
come
and then
back
you're
and-
gonna get the low price.
Yeah,
So I don't know that you
I
wanna do
think you
that.
don't put a dollar figure on it. I think
Okay.
you throw it out on the street and you get prices in, and then based on the quality of the proposal and the low bid, most likely,
Yeah, I don't-
depending on how you phrase it. I mean, there's a way I think you can take a bid other than the lowest bid if you phrase it correctly, that there's
It's
something
really
about the
difficult
quality
to
of it
do.
that has to prove that
Right.
it's worth spending
The additional?
the extra money somewhere. So
Well, that's
that's
what-
all part of the language that Scott and Bradley would have to figure out.
That's what the law, something I read on
Yeah.
there, you're supposed to base it on the quality, not the price.
Yeah, there are quality benchmarks, right, that,
Yeah.
and based on that, you're not dictated to use but you said it's kind of hard not to use the
Yeah,
low
if you're
bid.
structuring it based on low price, it's really hard to throw out that firm. If
Yeah.
they're not even if they're not your favorite, it's hard to throw them out.
Okay.
So what we did on the other one was we set a price,
Mhm. And
And
they
they-
bid based on that price.
but it was all, really was quals based, I think. Because they all came in at the same. I
Right,
think.
right. So because we set a price, the pricing didn't dictate.
Right.
Yeah, but I think there's definitely language you can put in there to
I
make
Okay.
that weight different. You know,
Okay.
That you
think so.
can, you
Yes.
can take quality over price at some point.
So when we evolved into the OPM stuff we did last time, that was agreement here, is there agreement from the Public Safety Committee that we go with them?
One OPM.
They haven't met.
They haven't met,
They're
okay,
meeting on
so,
Monday, yeah.
yeah, so okay.
But they've met since our last meeting.
But we hadn't talked about us meeting with them
No.
to
But
discuss
we did mention that, but I don't know. See, I don't
That
know.
may end up being with the land planner instead of just
Right.
them.
Yeah. I don't remember if they've met since we last met.
I thought I saw a
We
meeting.
haven't had much to do until we've got the,
I thought they met a few days after us. Or was that 2 meetings? That might have been 2 meetings ago.
Well, this one was the
Right, they
14th.
met the 18th.
Hmm.
That's true, they met the 18th, I don't see any minutes yet.
And we met the
Eight-
14th,
18th of November.
and they met the 18th.
Okay. If anything, I might have mentioned, I have a feeling I probably mentioned the fact that we discussed the OPM here and the idea of doing a joint OPM, but we didn't have a.
You didn't
it
have
wasn't an
you didn't have a
agenda
sense
item.
of that, yeah, okay.
I'll remember to bring it up on Monday when we meet again.
Okay.
Should we, all right, I just,
Yeah.
it's, what if to get back, no, we don't want to do that with you guys.
Hey.
Is there a plan B or,
I don't think anybody controls anything except Scott and the
Yeah,
select
okay.
board.
okay,
You can have your opinions, but in the
Yeah, all right,
reality,
all
there's
right.
certain things that have to happen.
yeah,
you know.
okay,
I mean,
good.
I'll be frank about that.
So the
Yeah.
recommendation is that we share an OPM.
They're
Yes,
not the ones
there you go.
hiring, you have no hiring.
I'm
authority
catching
or
up,
anything.
I'm catching up.
So, yeah, no, I mean, I think that would, certainly take it under advisement, but I think that, the reality is.
Good.
We've got to balance that out.
Thanks for that.
What's really doable as well.
Makes
But I
sense.
will put myself a note to bring it up when we meet on Monday.
Okay. And I guess public outreach before that time, I just wanted to throw out what people thought might be necessary. I mean, it's a short window between now and February to try to educate the public as far as why we want to hire an OPM. Maybe we wait till we meet with the land use planner and determine, you know.
Seems quick.
Yeah, well, and again, it's not, I think your argument is more why and what you need in a new senior center, not why you want to hire the OPM. The OPM is required.
No, I understand that. No, I
Okay.
understand, but to help them, the public understand why we're taking that step of hiring an OPM.
well,
So,
yeah.
I mean, I know we did it a couple years ago, but it's been, you know,
Well, I think we gotta wait, work with the other people on that, right? I mean,
Yep.
Yeah, and I guess all I would say is that, you know, that if you should have all gotten probably last month sometime finally this brochure flyer on the public safety complex thing.
Yeah, I got
Here's the
one.
current conditions, here's, yeah, so that's
Yep.
the thing, that when it was several weeks later than planned, shall we say? There, you might consider thinking about, you know, something like that too for the senior center one, I don't know, if you wanted to
I
just.
mean, I think we already have
Get a flyer.
it done. It's just a matter of, do we want to spend the money to mail it out, or did they, so that,
You have it done?
You didn't, did you
well, I
get
mean, we
that?
have the information
Yeah,
in the feasibility study. We don't have a mailer designed.
right, yeah. So
But
this-
we
this
have
was
the
done over
information.
At the package store in Hampton
Okay.
Ponds, but it was paid for by a private entity, so it's paid for by Paisanos. They offered to pay for the mailing.
I think it says that on the bottom.
It did say
It
that.
does
on
say
the
that.
bottom.
So it's designed by the package store, but.
Well, at least you know, it gets to everyone, so, I mean, yeah.
Good.
Anyway,
Is there a reason why the town meeting has to be in February, so it's so short?
well, we want enough time between then and an annual meeting, which is always May. So, I mean, at the latest, I mean,
All right.
early March, probably the latest, I don't.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if we
What?
could meet with the land use planner and then at least talk about that step as well.
Oh, yeah, no, we'll
At the
have to.
town
Yeah,
meeting.
I mean, that's gonna be January for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Alright.
and a good part of February, I would think, yeah. I mean, if it looks like we're not ready, then we'll push it off until
Okay.
early March. But I don't wanna get much later than that,
Yeah,
because then you're
okay.
backing right up to a town meeting, and
Right.
then
What's the
two
point?
back to back, or you're not gonna get anybody to come out, you know?
So thoughts on the group as far as whether we do a mailer, whether we do something else that we, I mean, is there something that we could put in the text?
You might
Or
check,
the
Lucy's gonna be
annual-
sending out the census
Yeah,
in
the
January.
census, yeah.
She
Right.
asked if we wanted to do an insert.
So if you needed, it might be a short, just a not fancy flyer, but
Mhm,
one page
right.
something,
Just about the senior center.
yeah.
Yeah, where we're at and what we need.
Yeah.
Did what-
Just an
Did you
update.
give her, how did you respond to that census question?
I said we were gonna have something, it's just a matter of, I had specific ideas, but if we need to send this, this would, to me, would be a priority given the timing.
Okay, I
Of
didn't want to
everything.
cut you off.
No, you're good, because we're not gonna be doing that volunteer request, anymore.
Okay.
So, that's kind of, it's taking place of that, so.
Okay,
Hmm.
We can figure something out.
all right, so we'll talk about
Yeah.
that, and
But if we're asking for money for an OPM for both projects, we have to have a description of the other project in there, I think.
I'm getting confused, yeah, I think so.
but they already
I think-
sent something out.
Yeah, and then if we send something out separately, I think there's a little confusion there.
Nobody in the world outside of these two committees know what the OPM
I understand
These are
that, but
those,
just they did send something out to try to help and
Right.
explain the
the need.
current and
Need.
need.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Maybe
That-
it's one thing about the OPM and then a separate insert about the senior center need on one page. I don't know, but it does seem like maybe you don't need the OPM discussion in there.
By the time the census goes out, will we have had like a public forum or an informational forum on anything?
I don't think there's going to be
I
an
doubt it.
informational forum between now and
I think
February.
Not like the feasibility.
I think the census goes out pretty early, so I kind of doubt it. I don't think we'll be far enough along with the land use person yet, by the time the census goes out.
Got it.
So-
Okay.
So is it important or critical to have something in, that explains the needs of the senior center at this point in time before the OPM, or?
Well, I'm just thinking about an update. I mean, people have been hearing about public safety, but it's
Mhm.
been a little bit
Right,
quiet,
I
I think,
agree.
on the senior center. So I
Yeah.
mean, you know, after we moved land, you know, I mean, that was kind of the last big thing that people
Mhm.
were
I think it's a
aware
good,
of.
I like the update idea.
Some sort of an update. I mean,
Yeah,
not, you know,
rather than.
I think it's a good idea to take advantage of that insert
Yeah.
Yeah.
and have something about the senior center. And then the OPM, I'm not quite so sure about,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
take it, at least put it in their ear about
Yeah.
the senior center.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
We can talk to Scott about the OPM. I'm not, I mean, he probably's got enough information about that to say something that we can put in there. I mean, I don't think it would be much, but it could be a paragraph or something in there in terms of, you know, when we get together at our special town meeting, you'll be hearing about an OPM, and here's what an OPM is, or something, I mean, something like that.
Mhm.
Did Lucy give you any dates that she would need the information and the, you know, so we're
Yep.
operating on time?
She sends them out pretty early, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, she just emailed this week,
'Cause she needs to get it in advance and
Monday.
you know, she needs
Mhm,
people
for
to stuff them,
stuffing it,
send
yeah.
volunteers
She-
to stuff them and all that kind of stuff, right?
If we have an insert, she just wants to know by December 30th, so,
Okay,
We
she
have a
doesn't
little
have to
bit-
receive it by December 30th.
no.
So,
Other parameters about the insert, about
I think it's
how
like a
many
one
words or
page.
anything like that, or?
Usually it's a page, so, in the past, she's told us like what color paper to use because she tries to have each department be a different color, that way
Okay.
it stands out away from the insert, or the census.
Yeah,
And that way the inserts don't all get jumbled up, to be
Yep.
honest with you.
Yeah.
So we usually have one
One
page,
page.
it can be double-sided, we've done double-sided in the past. I can ask her what color we're designated, because that'll probably help with the design. Last year we had white, so it was nice. It was very clean, but with that being said, I'm happy to check with her. We have other things that we can update if we just wanna have a general senior center and include that as the main thing, and then do something after that, that's fine too. Or just have this be a standalone, that works, so.
Thoughts from the group as far as should we have it dedicated to the new senior center or as a part of?
What else is gonna be on
Information.
your message?
So one of the things that I've been putting together was something related to Triad and the Code Red, and that way people just have like emergency access to things, the winter wellness program, the Sand for Seniors, but also knowing that there's access to resources outside of the senior center that other people in town, like that Code Red, might be able to utilize.
Anything about the reassurance program or anything
Yeah, so
like
the
that?
winter wellness program and the resident reassurance
Mhm.
program still goes hand in hand. There's only 4 people that are currently on the list for the reassurance program. We're trying to get the information out there, but at the same time, it's not just for folks that are over 60, it's also for folks with disabilities and accessibility issues and that type of thing. So I was thinking more in that direction in terms of it being like more of a community resource, since it's going to everybody in town regardless of their age.
Mhm.
So I was thinking more in those parameters, but we could also just have that be an informational thing on the backside.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we could do
Yeah.
one side that you wanna
100%.
do and one side
Yeah,
that
I
you
think
wanna
that would be
do.
good,
and-
because I think honestly, you wanna kind of minimize paper, I mean,
Yeah,
you have
Yeah.
paper postage, and that's.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Heavy duty.
that's what I was, yeah, that's what I was thinking in terms of resources, just because I was trying to figure out how to get to
Yeah,
the
so-
wider community
Yeah,
and
I
have it
think
be
that would be
relevant.
good.
Okay.
so, since it's December 12th, and there's a few holidays between now and December, well, only one, well, a few holidays between now and December 30th, what would the group like to include in our single page update? Or does somebody want to start with a subcommittee that you could work on something and then we could just review it? Thoughts?
I think in terms of content, like I'm happy to help. You had done a update on the Clark Street property that went out in the newsletter. I
Mhm.
don't think everybody realizes that
Okay.
that has happened. So even just giving like a little bit of a history, that property has been purchased, this is where we're at, like multi-stage. Because people still think that Clark Street's on
Oh,
they
on the
do?
docket,
Oh.
they do. But
Nobody's looking at the website
No.
page, obviously.
But it's hard because if they miss the blurb in that newsletter, outside of coming into the center or having somebody that's connected
Right,
to that
talking to
information, they
them
don't know.
specifically.
Yeah.
Just on the COA page, it talks about final site selection, which
Mhm.
is the other one, so.
And it's not just the people that come into the senior center,
Right.
it's the rest of the voting community
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
important to
So
reach.
maybe more like bullet point, you know,
Mhm.
chronology, bullet point kind of
Mhm.
stuff.
And who wants to work with Kate on that? Thanks, Kate, for
Oh,
volunteering.
yeah, my pleasure. Do you think that was in June
That went
that we
out?
did that update?
I'd have to go back.
It was probably, I think it was over the summer, right?
Was it?
I think so. It's when the perk test came back.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to
I'm trying to
have
remember. I
access
mean,
to
we did the perk test like last February, March, right? And then,
Yeah.
on the original one, and then
Yeah.
then it was
Oh,
like
the-
New
If you
Year.
throw it
The
up on the website.
delineation.
Yeah,
It was the
Yeah.
delineation.
Yep, okay.
So do we have the bullet points in terms of dates and stuff? I mean,
I can pull from that just to kind of, I don't want to recreate the wheel of some of the
Mhm.
contents already, because you
Already
had
done.
written that. for
The one that we
Christina.
put into the.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that's what I think Chris read, we worked on reading at the town meeting
Yes,
to explain why we weren't
Mhm.
voting on this thing
Mhm.
in May to purchase, so.
yeah,
So it may have been June, May
Yeah.
or June,
okay.
yeah.
That sounds
So I think
Probably
if
June.
you go to the COA page, you could probably pull most of that stuff right off of there.
Yeah, okay,
So do you want to work with me on that?
sure.
I'm waiting for the other hands to tell me
I'll
these.
help out. but I'm
Okay.
a little confused, so just let me
Okay,
figure it
so the
out.
three of us, we can't do more than three. Right.
So Kate's
Any
gonna set up a time or
graphics on
what?
any of this? Yeah, I hate getting all words,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I don't know that there's anything that's, you can't show a picture of the site.
No,
It's-
no.
You don't have any mapping or any layout.
Nope.
Put in there, so.
And we won't by the end of
No,
December.
No,
No.
no, no, so.
Wasn't there something with the Zero College Highway property? Like a
I mean, there's
map?
probably a picture, is that what you're saying?
Or something, or like
There
there
was
was a map of where
There
it was.
was, but it's not
But I don't
valid
think that's
anymore.
helpful.
Oh,
anymore.
okay, got it.
That's gonna be looking different.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's wide open territory now, so depending on.
Got it.
Or maybe you just do
Everything is
a map, a Google map with a property outline, we have that, showing where it is.
Right. Actually, we can have one, I think because we have we're a board of 9, even though we have a vacancy, so we could have one more person if they're interested besides the three of us to do that without having a quorum, so. Are you available to do any of that or
Yeah, I
work
think-
with us?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, she'll be retired.
I know,
Have a
she'll
lot
have
of
lots of
cookies.
time.
I've
and
been
she'll-
retired.
And there's
She'll
nothing
bring
going on.
cookies.
I've essentially been retired for a long time.
All right, so the four of us will put something together and maybe we have a short meeting between now and before the 30th or something.
Yeah.
So, good. Okay, so single page. And we'll team up, good, great. All right. So we just got an update on the funding. I didn't print it out really because,
Oh, is that recent?
yeah, this was today. It came
Oh,
in
it's-
late, so.
I have my copy, I can pass
Okay.
around, I don't know if.
And who do you receive that from?
Jen Day.
Tom Craig.
Yeah,
Town
treasurer,
treasurer.
yeah.
That's the old stuff.
It's-
That's last meeting, Dennis.
Yeah, that's-
That's, right, it didn't seem to, right.
That's last.
Yeah,
meeting.
this has been, this is
worthless. That's-
what's happened since then.
Thank you.
So this is the
So you're only looking at the top line, get it any
This is
bigger at
the-
all?
12. Can people read that?
No.
No.
I have my back to it, so I can't tell you.
Definitely can't. That's better.
Can we read this?
There you go.
Getting there.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you're only looking at the CO center line, COA center
Okay.
line. So somewhere where we ended off, we were at the $1.5 million, whatever, it's earned like $89,000 of interest, I believe, over the year. Is that right? I think so.
89.2 is a beginning, this is beginning earnings.
Yeah, I think that's what that was.
Yeah, that makes sense, it's 1.592, and you end up on the,
Yeah, I
is
just,
that beginning market value? What does that mean, the first column?
don't ask
Seems
me
like
those
that's
things, I-
ending market
Yeah.
value.
Yeah, go
Oh,
on
what
to
do I
the-
know? I
go to
don't
the end of
understand
it.
these kind of
What's it
things.
been, fund for?
Ending zero.
The bottom
That's,
line.
this was showing, maybe this was showing the interest on it? Oh, Lord.
Yep,
Can we comprehend? That might have been just showing, trying to show the interest, I'm not sure.
Transfers
Um,
of principal.
Really
Long
read
story
that.
short, if you look at whatever Dennis was trying to look at a minute ago, we said that there was some money that was gonna roll over or come up due on November 30th. That was the one that had been invested, the bulk of the money that had been invested for a long time. So on November 30th, or right around then, Janet and I and Scott also met with the treasurer trying to figure out what the options might be. And so maybe just go back to her email, did it?
Her email?
Her email, I think that I sent you, because I think it, the two attachments she sent had what? Had
She.
Jennifer?
The
Jennifer
treasurer,
did.
yep.
Sorry.
had interest, this is 1.6.
So East Hampton Savings Bank CD is at almost 2.2.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, so what happened was, we had the $1.5 million or $1.6 million-ish, right, that has earned interest now.
Mm-hmm.
So, talking about different options, and interest rates are gonna be going down, there's a Fed meeting next week. Probably the interest points are gonna be cut yet again another quarter point. And who knows where the interests are gonna go, but we needed to figure out how to maximize our funding as much as we could. So rather than leave it in our Bartholomew investment, it actually seemed better to pull it out and put it into a CD at East Hampton Savings Bank. And so that's basically what we did. So instead, we pulled it out of the Bartholomew investment and put it into East Hampton Savings Bank. It's, the amount put in there is, in her email, is $2,199,790, sorry, $2,199,797.74. And
I'll send this
that
to
is
you.
invested
Maybe I'll send this to
for,
you.
Okay.
hold on. That is invested for 1 year, so basically November 30th, December 1st, whenever, right around there, at a rate of 4.55%.
Yeah, that's good.
With an annual API, so an API of 4.65%. So
Mhm.
that was that amount. So that included what we had as the previous investment plus the earnings. Hold on. What am I missing? Oh, no, we had 800,000, sorry, we had 800,000 separate, so we had a pile of 800,000 on a short-term investment, right?
That we were keeping
And-
for the property initially.
Right,
Initial
and then
outright.
$1.5 million in the bigger investment, okay. So what we ended up deciding was, in the 800,000, we didn't think we needed that amount of liquidity anymore now. So
Right.
rather than keep that 800,000 there, we took 500,000 of that to add to this amount.
Right.
Okay, to make this a bigger chunk invested solidly for a year at a set
Right.
interest rate. So in the other account, there's $300,000, and that interest varies a bit over time. That's with the Mass Mutual Deposit Trust, MMDT. And that's been okay, and we earned like maybe $5,000 of interest when it was in there on that 800,000, but we decided we just don't need that liquidity right now because of everything that's changed. So there's 300,000 there, and then 500,000 added to this one then to give us
Right.
around that 2.1 million thereabouts.
So the 300 is still more liquid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So that
that's
gives
for
a-
the OPM and.
Well, we're not
design.
paying for the OPM out of this, remember?
That's right. Yep, sorry.
And then the interest that's earned, I believe, is still added into that other account that Bradley manages that we had originally put around 40,000 or something in to begin with, to have really liquid money to pay for like the survey and appraisal and stuff like that. So any interest that this thing has been earning should be being added to that account. I just haven't had a
Right
chance
around
to check that.
2.5 total.
And is that on his accounting sheets that
Should
he
be on the
sends out?
revenue thing, but
Okay.
I need to double check that, because when I last looked at just showing the original revenue that we got from the estate,
Okay,
which is true, we have to notice when we got that money.
Right.
But it's actually been taken out to be invested, so I talked to Scott about it, we gotta just double check how to best record that.
okay.
But the monies that we get usually on the Bartholomew investment had been a quarterly interest rate, and that's where that, I think last time I told you it was like 51,000 or something, and I think we had like another 11 or 12,000 for the last quarter. So all that money, the interest part, should be coming off to this other more liquid account, just in
Okay.
case we needed it. Does that make any sense?
Mhm.
Feel free to ask questions. I'll try to do my best I can do.
So that gives us about 2.5.
Right.
Close.
And then we'll have, she said,
Plus whatever the
I asked, I
interest
said,
is.
you know, will we get, interest rates, not interest rates, will there be quarterly interest transferred to our other account like there had been? And she said we should receive a monthly statement with interest on the.
From East Hampton
From East
CD.
Hampton CD, so we'll know how much it is, and I guess at some point in time, we can
Yeah.
decide if we move it monthly or quarterly over to that other account.
Okay.
But seemed to be the most favorable thing to invest. She had checked out 3 or 4 different banks and CDs, and this was the most advantageous one. So that's what we decided to do, because it was a more of a fixed
Mhm.
interest rate, whereas that MMDT one with the 300,000 now, that's a bit of a fluctuating
Right.
market rate. So this gives us a bit more stability, I think.
That's excellent work.
Maybe.
Excellent.
Hope so. Hope so.
Does the Bartholomew account have stocks in it?
Yeah, it's got stock mutual funds
So
and
did you
stuff.
have to
So,
pay capital gains when you took it out?
don't think we have at this point in time. Don't think so. Because there's many other investments from town. A lot of the other gift accounts from town are in that Bartholomew investment pile. So CPA money, various other monies are in there. So not just this. But if that makes any sense. So anyway, just to say that we moved it in time. We moved it into a solid account, and I think it'll be earning decent enough interest to at least, you know, counteract whatever's coming at us for the next few months.
And I'll forward this email, I mean, it just came in like
Yes, it
moments
did.
before,
Yeah,
and I'll send it out to the committee so that everybody can see it. And
yeah. And I
Try
think
to
a
figure
couple
it out.
attachments might have shown the interest earned for November and the interest earned for December or something like that.
Is that in the
might have been
other
part of what that
attachment,
was.
or there's an
Before
11?
or the interest earned for November before we moved it, maybe that was it, because we would have moved it like December 1st or 2nd.
Yeah, this was the other,
Yeah, so, anyway,
I don't know if we need to get into that or something.
but anyway, just say
We
we're
got the picture.
trying to stay on
Yeah.
top of it, and I think
We'll
we've got a
send
decent,
some. Okay,
decent way to play with the money right now, and make it grow for us, hopefully.
so if we sometime want to do a mail-in or something, we have liquid monies that we can use to create a
Mhm.
piece.
We do
and-
actually.
Yeah, so, for getting this printed up even, if we need to, how many tax bills go out?
Great
Like,
question.
2,000, 24?
I have not been given a number yet, but
Okay.
I'll ask as soon as I go downstairs, because I'll need to order the paper. So if
Do
it's
you-
not white,
Do you do typically just black and white on it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
yeah.
So it may end up being more of a factual sheet than a
Yeah.
pretty picture. And we'll save that for
That's
another
what it is.
time,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because we've traditionally just used the printer down in the
Yep.
copier.
Yeah.
The break room.
Okay. All right.
Good.
Thanks, Chris, for
Yeah.
interpreting all that.
Yeah, sorry, best I can do.
But I think it's all good news, so. So this was the update. So the next question I had that I don't think we really had talked about or decided was when we get to the architectural phase. Yes,
Just on the update, should we include any money issues on the update? Like, I've been asking a number of times, so when we got that money from that guy, is there any left? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
Whether,
sure.
whether on that update,
I think that would be a worthwhile thing, you know, we'd have to put the level of
Financial
detail, but
status
just
or
this
say,
financial status of
working with the
the
town treasurer,
of
you
the
know,
Parsons
we've
investment.
been investing this money
Yeah,
to
just, yeah,
make it grow. Yeah. You know, we can provide some basic figures, they don't need all
right.
the movement detail, but yeah.
right. Even if it's the two things for East Hampton Savings Bank and MMDT, and this is where we are today.
Right.
So, good point, Dennis, thanks. So for the architectural part, I'm just curious how the committee, and we don't have to decide today, but do we save this 2.5 million and let it grow over the next few years and get a sense from the town as to their appetite for paying for the architectural side? If we have, my opinion only, a challenge from the town approving $1 million for architectural, what are we gonna do when it's, 10 million for a building, for example. So I just wanted to throw, like we did with the OPM, we decided to go to town for that versus pay it out of the estate. What are your thoughts on, I mean, if we spend the estate money for architectural and then the senior center never gets approved, I mean, I guess it goes both ways.
We touched on it a little bit in the notes from last meeting, under 8, when we talked about the OPM.
But I don't know that we agreed that we were going to, with the architectural part of
We said that we would use separate architects for each project.
it. Yes. But we
Enough
didn't say how
funds
we were paying for them, right?
No,
That's the, so that's the question is, yeah, we would definitely have to use different architecture because they're,
Save the funds for the construction phase. I think what we meant, at least what, the way I interpreted it, is that we meant to request the money for the OPM and the designer until people were letting this grow, and then we'd have all that money for the construction. That's how I think I.
did we do, I know we voted on the OPM, I guess I wasn't
Motion,
clear
and then a
whether
second,
we.
we need a
B
motion,
mostly.
committee not use available fund.
B.
Committee will go before town meeting to request approval to move forward with one OPM, but use separate architects, and it wasn't clear.
Yeah, so I don't think we ever had a motion to,
Yeah.
as from the committee, as to what our preference was. You know, I mean, I don't know if we
We
have.
need to do that
I don't know
now?
that we have the final say.
That's what I think.
It's just more for discussion right now. I'm not, you know, just something to think about. I was
My
just
gut would be
curious.
to try to get town meeting approval for the funds for the designer. So then we know we have, like you said, if we use the money and it's 800,000, then we don't have all that much left.
Right.
But that's just my opinion.
Other thoughts from folks?
I agree
This is
with
just for
Libby.
discussion at
Yeah,
this point in time.
Yeah, I think we need some more time to go by and some more things to get resolved.
Such as, I mean, I'm not sure that, what I heard you say is you were
Was that
agreeing
I
with me that we
agree
should.
should request funding for the designer, maybe not now, but
Right.
from the town, and not use the funds from the estate.
reserve these funds for construction.
Right.
Right.
Didn't we agree on that last time?
It's not in the
No,
minutes, and
I don't
when
think
I
we-
listened to,
Oh, we didn't?
when
Oh,
I
okay.
listened to it, we
Huh.
we did not say it specifically.
Yeah, we talked about the OPM and voted on the OPM side.
We need to say it specifically?
At some
Now?
point in time, I think we need to
Yeah, I
say it
agree, at some point in
specifically.
time, isn't that,
I
is
think we
now.
need to start the discussion now, you
Okay.
know, to see how people get a sense of how the committee feels. I'm only expressing myself, Libby herself. I don't know what other people feel. I mean,
I like the idea of putting it before the town, you get it sort of like a trial balloon kind of thing, you know, to get a sense. And nobody's trying to pull the wool over anybody, could, you know, the money will be used,
For
the money that we
construction.
have will be used to offset costs that the town will incur down the line, one way or another. But this is a way of sort of getting a sense of what's going on in the town. I like it.
Jerry, your thought, anything to add?
Not really.
Okay.
Trying to digest it.
Okay.
So you're saying that there's gonna be a statement that we're gonna save the bequest money for construction costs, is that right?
Essentially,
Yeah,
We're gonna let them grow, save them for construction costs,
yeah.
and that,
I mean, that was what I wanted to talk about today,
Yes.
right? We don't have to make a final motion, and quite honestly, I don't know if this committee has the authority to make that final decision, if the town, and,
It's really a recommendation.
right,
Yeah, it's a
right.
recommendation.
Yep.
Maybe we see what happens with the OPM request.
Right, I think that's a good,
That's, yeah.
I think the way I kind of
There's a
look
lot
at
of balls in here. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. But I think going to special town meeting, so if we did a shared OPM and then probably 2 architectural costs, I think our idea was to, whatever those costs are, all that is the package. that
For
goes
the town
to
meeting,
town, to special town meeting.
so then we have to make a
That
motion on
dollar,
it.
that dollar value. And if, you know, if something, you know, during the discussion, you know, if it's on the warrant article and during town meeting, if discussion is looking like not going well or something, you can always amend the motion or something
Right.
on the floor, but, I mean, this.
so would that be at the February meeting or the May meeting?
February. I'd say.
So February's not just OPM, it's the architectural
I would
as
say
well?
yes. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be my thought. Check with Scott, but I think that's what we were hoping for.
Okay.
because We need to keep on moving otherwise.
Right, no.
Yeah.
Jerry, you were,
Well, I was thinking, for me, the architect is part of the construction cost, but,
Both, there's the designer and the construction.
yeah.
So you
So it's
have
a
to-
separate
It's a
phase.
separate phase. We don't want to sign a contract
Yeah.
with them for their construction phase services right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So these would be all the pre-construction phase costs and a lot of permitting and all that kind of stuff that we would have to do. Blueprints, the whole
and
bit.
I was gonna say, and drawings and things.
So do we want the full-blown plan and full-blown architectural services done before we're ready to start building?
Yes,
Before we put the shovel in the ground.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah, we have to have that.
So,
Has to be a stamped set of drawings
Yeah.
from an architect.
so I'm an average Southampton taxpayer, and I don't really attend a lot of different meetings, but I do go to this meeting in February if we have one or whatever. It sounds real, how are you gonna explain this to everybody? It sounds so convoluted to me, even though I kind of understand it. I don't know, I think it would be, so confusing for a lot of people that might influence how it goes. It's just, I'm just throwing that out.
And what specific, could you be more specific?
Well, you know,
to this?
we're, in a sense, we're saying we don't, you're looking to approve a certain pot of money now to do X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
Okay, and we're saying, we want to approve this and do X, Y, and Z, and we could pay for that now out of our other funds, but we want to hold that off for,
The
construction.
construction phase. Mhm. I don't know how much of that detail.
I guess
we
as
get into.
a taxpayer, I'm thinking, I'd rather have them use it now, so we don't have to really vote this expense in.
I guess maybe you could say, we're
I don't-
gonna
that's
save
just
an
me.
extra $100,000 on interest over the next year.
I think you gotta be real clear about that.
You know, we
Somebody's-
could make this money, which is the equivalent of what we would make in fundraising. We could make an interest in
Way
a
more,
year.
probably.
Yeah,
I mean,
that would clarify.
I'm not, I just think it's kind of a hard and confusing sell. For the same reason that Jerry says, I'm just thinking about it right now. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not really clear cut. There are cost-benefit analysis on either, whether you look at it. For the average taxpayer, and I think for us, I think it's clear what we want to do, but
And also my questions or issues would be timing. Do we want to hire an architect for the senior center and have the full-blown thing and pay $1 million for all this stuff when we're not even anywhere close to breaking ground? It may be 5 years before we actually break ground.
But how long would you wait? I mean, you gotta get started.
Maybe a year before. I mean, what,
Yeah, but you gotta have something concrete enough that allows you to either go look for grants, put it before the town to go for borrowing, fundraising, you need enough
I agree with all that. but
enough description of what you want to do so that you can hang your hat on it and say, here's why we're doing this
Right.
fundraising, or here's why we need this grant from the state or the feds or something. I mean, I don't know. I
So we
guess I'm
don't-
not-
we don't
Because of
really
it-
need a ready-to-break-ground set of plans. Maybe just a conceptual plan.
No, we've
We
got the
need-
conceptual
we have the
thing right
conceptual.
now.
We
Yeah,
have
we need the
conceptual.
ready to break ground plan. We need the
Yeah,
blueprints.
they would be construction ready, correct me if I'm wrong, Libby, but I think these would be construction ready documents.
I mean, you can
The end
break it
result.
off into phases, so
Yeah.
now that they have a different site, they would give us like, they call it different in architectural terms, but like a 30% design. So
Right.
it would be I forget what they call it. And then we could look at that
Yeah.
and a cost estimate at the same time.
Yeah,
So that would just updated what we already did
Yeah,
on that site that the land use planner has
Right.
figured out where we're gonna be.
I think we just have to be ready for questions that people will
Yeah.
have.
I mean, the
You
whole
know,
process
cart
could
before
be
the horse.
a year.
So we're gonna put this money out there, and you don't even know whether we're gonna build it, whether we're gonna agree to build one, you know? So are we gonna lose $1 million then? That's the way somebody might think.
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
I mean, you just, and I think you can expect that will come out, and then I think we need to have cogent argument about why we're doing what we're doing, which, you know, what Chris sort of just laid out, and you really need to do these things before, just, I don't know. I think it's.
Is there an agreement that we would hope that the town would have an opportunity to build or approve the public safety complex before they are asked to come up with funding for the senior center?
I don't know. In terms of construction? I mean, the construction
That
part
would
of
be a
it?
question.
Well, the approval of the multiple millions to build the public safety committee, right?
Mhm.
Once that's been approved by the town, right?
Mhm.
If they approve that, right?
Yeah.
And then at another time, then the senior center funding comes up as a second question. Or
They
is
may-
it one question? Because it's a big bill.
Yeah.
That's
No, I think,
debate even
I'm
now.
sorry.
Huge pill.
Okay, the way, okay, I don't know, I'm envisioning this, the pill to swallow right now will be the OPM and the architectural design for everybody. Okay, that's the first one, so that's, I don't know, maybe $3 million, I don't know, I'll throw it out there, no idea. No idea,
It's a lot of money.
I don't know, I'll just throw it out
It
there.
probably is, but it's just.
I have no idea. So I think that's one that would go together. I think, yes, going forward on construction, depending on how fast anything moves, we might be better off to go to the town separately. So public safety first, I would say, for borrowing. But that would not slow this committee down because you've got some money in the bank to also start some of the construction things by then too. You won't have it all, so you'd still have to come back for another borrowing for the senior center, but they wouldn't be at the same time, is my thinking. But that's just why I'm just trying to look at a, calendar rolling forward here, I'm not sure. But I think a lot of it, again, it's, public education, it's, trying to, talk about the next steps, and that's where some of this would have to come out before special town meeting. It's like, here's the explanation of what we're gonna be putting on the warrant, and here's what's involved with it. And, you can't take step B until you do step A. And everything costs money, and the longer we delay, the construction costs aren't gonna go down. We already know they went up to $1,000 per square foot now from when you all did the feasibility study. So, we gotta keep on moving as far as I'm concerned, but.
And how do we determine are we doing an estimate on the architectural costs then for each?
Well, all right, so I tried to. Because at the last meeting, we talked about, the $1,000 a square foot and like what are the designer fees? So I went back to the feasibility study and pulled out their costs for 89 Clark and College Avenue. What do they call it?
Yes.
College Avenue. Sorry, that is not the correct name for
Yes.
it. I was a little confused, but I think I figured it out. So they ended up with a cost for the project just for construction, no design fee, of $10.3 million for the 89 Clark. And that
Right.
worked out to be, that was for a 12,300 square foot building, and it was $842 per square foot. So for up to $1,000 a square foot, it's $12,300,000.
But isn't it less for College Highway?
Well, I don't know.
I mean,
a
based
little
on
bit less.
The septic and,
That would sort of be like
Yeah.
700,000 less.
But he said 1,000, so I'm just assuming
right.
his
His
$1,000 a
doesn't
square
matter,
foot.
yeah,
Yes.
I think it got worse.
It is a little bit less
His
in
other
this.
comment
It was
was-
like $1 million or $800,000 less
Yeah.
for this.
His comment was if the property was challenging, it was gonna be more than 1,000 square
Okay.
feet. So I think 1,000 is a safe number.
And Libby, that 12 million would be just hard costs, it's not soft costs, it's not furnishings.
That's correct, and it's
Hard costs.
not design, even though in here it says design and pricing contingency. I just think he means contingency, not design fee. And then I went back in the report and it said add another 30% onto that for design and OPM services. So that is $3.7 million, which is a lot of money, but that's for design fee, OPM fee, design fee during construction, so it's services during construction, and the OPM during construction. I don't know how to break it out.
Right,
So
that
it's-
would be the total,
Yeah.
Right, and
Up
so.
to the end of the
I knew you were
project.
gonna ask, so what's the
Yeah, yeah.
breakout? And I don't know.
yeah, no, that's.
I don't know how much a design of this magnitude would cost, or how much an OPM
For
does.
some
Does
reason
somebody?
I had it in my head, and I could be
Yes.
wrong, I'm 30% surprising me a little bit. I had in my head from meetings, with Ed back at these various committee things, that it was something like, I had 10% in my head.
Yeah,
for
like 10
OPM
to
and
12%
architectural.
is what I think he's had shared
10%
before.
of construction costs
Yeah.
to reserve for OPM architectural design.
Yeah, this 30% is more than, is what
But
he
that
wrote
goes
in
in- that goes into
the
the actual-
summary
Yeah,
report.
but
of
that goes
the-
into the construction phase too, and maybe we were just looking at pre-construction stuff, so.
Yeah, 10% probably for the design
Design
phase
part.
services, and then maybe 15% for construction phase services,
Yeah.
but that doesn't include the OPM.
Right, yeah,
What I'm used to is not an OPM.
yeah.
So
Anyway,
what's
I'm-
the dollar value that,
Yeah, I think the OPM, once we get an OPM, correct me if I'm wrong, we get the OPM helps us to write some of the specs for the architect, so that we put
the
that.
RFP?
The RFP.
Yes.
So that goes out on the street too, to look for firms that want to bid on the.
But if you're asking for money for the architect, we gotta figure out what that total dollar
Yeah,
value
Right,
is.
Yeah, that was kind of my question, is
Right.
how do we know what to put on?
I think construction phase services are more, because
Yeah,
they just, I don't know if we need a clerk of the works, or somebody on site all the time.
yeah.
That costs a lot of money, so 3.7 million, is it design?
And
Is
for
it
the
$1
best,
million?
you know,
for
for
architect?
these public facilities, you've got to use prevailing wage and all that stuff too, so that
Mhm.
jacks up price.
Can you ask the public safety architect what they would think an architectural fee would be for their services? For the public safety?
Like
The
for pre-
design.
For the pre-design, I mean, the
No, for the whole
pre-construction?
design.
Oh, the whole design?
That's what you're asking for.
Is that what we're going to ask for in February, or are we going
We
to
have
just
to ask
do
for the-
phase one? No.
Oh,
Pre-construction, I thought we said.
oh, so you're only gonna ask for the money for like
That's right,
30%
yeah.
design?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, I think that's,
So architecture design, I mean, up to the stamp,
That is design, it's not pre-design, that is a whole
I mean,
design.
pre-construction.
Yes.
Pre-construction.
Yes.
Design, pre-construction.
So could,
Bid-ready documents
Yes.
for, that's what I'm trying to say, so,
if you would ask them,
okay. I'll make myself-
I'm just not sure what this would be, and they might also be able to tell you what an OPM fee is too. I just don't know the breakout of this.
Yeah. And now it's
Now I gotta
almost 2
listen to
years old,
myself
so
talking
it's
on the video to figure out what I said.
it's a good thing we record these things.
Yeah,
Video.
and so the OPM cost as well as the cost of pre-construction bid-ready documents.
Don't say pre-construction.
No,
Just say
okay.
bid-ready documents.
Bid-ready
yeah.
documents.
Well, bid-ready document, stamped drawings. Design.
I was in the wrong business.
do you know if there's anything in the
What?
whole
I don't
Parsons thing
Well,
that,
so was I, because,
that limits the way we use the money in any way?
No, I think,
We're not doing
So?
anything?
I don't think so.
No, okay.
we've read the will.
I have never read the will, so I just would wonder if there's, we do some things in connection with the safety committee or whatever, whether that violates some kind of.
No, I think, I mean, the will was just to receive the monies. I think at that point, it became, as long as we're using it for a new senior center.
Yep.
I would think if we're combining it with the
OPM.
public safety and using the money from the estate, then we would have to divvy up which is which.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But we're not using the
Since
money
we're
from
not
the
using it
estate.
for the
yes,
OPM,
right.
it makes it cleaner.
Yeah, it does. Take a deep breath, yes.
I think the challenge is gonna be
I
when we
just
get
sighed.
going with the land use planner, because we really do have, like, this table, I mean, you might have been, or public safety was gonna be over here, you guys might have been over here, or you could be anywhere.
That's right.
And I don't know how, even with the architects now, they're still working on the reduced footprint for public safety.
Right.
They're gonna probably wanna know, well, if you're not limited to here now, we could change the whole thing differently, so it's like, I don't know where we're going, so we've got a meeting on Monday, I don't know where this is gonna go, but it does, pose different challenges
It
that,
does.
it really is, as Stephen used to say, it's a blank slate,
Mhm.
what makes sense. So I think that's where these meetings, hopefully with the land use planner, will be helpful to say, okay, this is what we need. We're worried about traffic, we're worried about, whatever. And how do we cite something that makes sense for everybody?
And I wouldn't think we would be going out for the architectural services until we know where it's going to be located on the site.
Yeah.
So we'd
Yeah.
have the money for it.
Right, we'd have the money.
But not the RFP.
Because you shouldn't really go out on the street with with an offer for contract unless you know you got the money to fund it, right? So-
That's right. Right, oh yeah. I don't think you're allowed to. Right.
So I think that's the idea, is we would want to get the authorization of the money, but we wouldn't spend it until we were ready to spend
Right.
it. So that's the basic idea on the OPM and whatever. But we need a rough idea of what those costs are, so we
Right.
can put that money before
For
the
February,
voters.
right, yeah.
And say, this is our best estimate on what these
Mhm.
services are gonna cost.
I mean, is there anything we could ask Abacus if there's any other questions that you think of? They've been really willing to, they're planning on bidding on it,
I'm
obviously,
sure they
but
are.
we're not getting-
If what the
no
breakout
guarantee.
would be just for design services,
Okay.
not for, based on, you could even just say
Design.
based on $1,000 a square foot.
Yeah.
What would be a design, just the design services, not construction? Could ask them the same question
Yeah,
as the
that's
other
fine.
architect and see what you get.
Mhm.
Because the
Yeah.
public safety complex design's probably gonna be more complex than this.
Yeah. I think
So
it
that, the design might be more expensive.
Yeah, it's a bigger footprint too. Yeah. So you're wanting cost stamp drawings, basically, is what you're wanting?
Yeah, yep. Design only stamp drawings, bid ready docs, got all those key phrases from Libby. Thank you for being on the
Yeah.
committee, Libby.
I'm gonna have to scoop
I'm not an architect
Okay.
though, so it's a little different.
Yeah,
We could ask, no?
Andrew,
Yeah.
I could ask Andrew
We could ask both.
Yeah.
Because it would be really a good idea. I
to get a
don't,
few.
$1 million
Get your
for
numbers.
design, I think it's fun. Average.
Okay, all right.
Time to go.
All right, so, anything else? So we won't make any votes or make any determinations or
I think
whatever
not.
at this point in time, so we're still working on that. All right, next thing was just, we didn't get to the senior center yet in Hadley, whether we go there or South Hadley, I think, again, Kate's, one of her biggest concerns is there's no exit point in the design, out of the office. If God forbid something happens and they need to get out, there's no,
So no,
there's just the one, so you have to kind of go back
So
all the
where
way out.
offices
and
are,
around.
there's no like central access point from the offices to the main.
okay, yes,
Activity
I did
area.
include that
Yeah.
in there, all right. I thought you meant exit point. Okay,
Well, or exit point,
yeah.
either
Yeah,
way,
emergency
you know.
aisles, yeah.
Okay.
So, I'm
Did you
sure,
go to the other seniors?
We have not been
No.
there yet,
Okay.
no. My schedule blew up this
No,
past.
that's, no judging here. I'm gonna keep that in here.
Medicare open
Okay.
enrollment is
Yeah.
not done.
Oh.
so we'll still work on that. And Chris has kind of updated us along the way on the safety complex, so the meeting is Monday. Anything else that can't wait till our next meeting that we need to discuss? Good, and so let's take a realistic look at our schedule. So we want to try to get something again this month if it's possible. Probably not the 26th because I'm traveling.
Me
What does the 23rd look like for folks?
Of December?
Yeah. Because we want to approve this final thing that we're going to send out in the census, so that the main purpose of that meeting would be either we
Do
get.
we need a full meeting for that?
Well, we might want to get, we want everybody's input if they feel, if we've missed something, and we also want to, maybe if we have update on bid ready docs, design only information to kind of,
That day's fine
just-
for me.
I'm tied up.
you're tied up?
So Lucy just needed a yes or no by December 30th.
Okay,
So we have a little bit more time if that helps. I just emailed her and asked how many copies and what date she needed them in
Mhm.
hand by, so.
But then we gotta write it up and get it printed.
Yeah, so
Yeah, right,
once
so
can
we
you
print
do
it
the-
downstairs,
Do you do
so.
the printed or?
Yeah, we'll print it downstairs. There's a big copier machine in the break room that we've utilized in the past.
So I mean, if we
If
come
a
up
sub-
with it
if
the
a subcommittee
28th, you
were
can
gonna
still
meet,
get it in there.
you could, whatever you drafted, you could just circulate around.
Right.
And
Yeah, that's what I was
people could see
thinking.
that ahead of time before you set a meeting for early January or something, maybe? I mean,
So we don't need to deal with the other costs that we're talking about until January. That's not critical for December.
I don't
Yeah,
think
that's
so.
what I was thinking.
I don't think so.
So if we circulate a document, people have feedback, and then we circulate it again, or if we can do it in January, early January, that's even better, I guess, right? If she
Yeah.
does, she just needs to know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it said if anyone has inserts they have to include, please let me know by December 30th. So, she won't need it in hand yet.
So that leaves us with like January, maybe January 2nd, or are you guys, you're back on the 2nd, right?
Yeah.
Or is that too tight with everybody? What's everybody's schedule look like?
That's fine for me.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Second's okay.
January 2nd then? 2/20/25. Everybody's lookable. Same room, same time, as long as nothing else out. At least get the room reserved, so. Okay,
25.
all right, and then we'll work on it, time to discuss the handout. Kay, does that work?
Perfect. That sounds great.
The four of us. All right. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The magic button.